Welcome to AI101, a no-nonsense guide to artificial intelligence. You can read about me, my books, my blogs, everything on my website, rnanda.com. In this part of the series, we'll talk about what are base versus fine-tuned or retrained model. Sometimes base models are also called as foundational models. So everything starts with a base or a foundation model. And then you can use any of the base model that you pick. Either you can fine tune it further or retrain it in brand new data. And we'll talk about these in a little more detail in the next slides. Specifically for our LLMs, large language models, there is further tuning that you can do with prompt tuning or prompt training or PEFT. And there are new techniques that are getting evolved and published literally on a weekly basis. So what is a base or a foundation model? If you have reviewed the earlier videos in this series, you would have known by now that a base or a foundation model is a neural network model that has been trained with a specific set of data or data set for either one or multiple tasks. So the example up here, obviously you can read chatbot trained on publicly available data on consumer products, or think about ChatGPT, which has been trained on what they call as all of humanity's knowledge. And it is trained for multiple set of tasks like summarization, content generation, sentiment analysis, code creation, and many other things. One of the largest and most complex of AI LLM models. When do you want to use a base or a foundation model is when the training data is relevant to your business needs and you are satisfied with its zero-shot performance. I will explain zero-shot performance in one of the slides. So think about that. Let's say you are creating an online store or you have an online store of clothing and apparel, and now you find a model that has been trained on, let's say, jeans or shirts and the things that are related to clothing fabrics. And when you ask a question to that model or do your own query, and specifically around LLMs, then the response you get is pretty good enough that it serves your purpose. It may not be 100% accurate, but that's because it is a zero-shot performance, and it can be further tuned based on the techniques we'll talk about. But as long as the model meets your business needs out of the box and is trained on the data which is relevant to your business, you can start with a brand new base foundation model from place like Hugging Face or any other repository that you want to use. Retraining a model, obviously you start with the foundation model and you retrain it. Retraining means that you are training the data, training the model on your data, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes you are forcing catastrophic forgetting. This is another term that I will explain in a slide. But think about that, you have a base model that was trained on clothing and apparel. You like the model's performance, that means it is able to respond back to the queries and that is put to the model, or it is able to ingest and predict the data, generate the data, or whatever the usage is. So you like the overall performance of the model, but now you want to use the model for, let's say, electronic products. So what you do is you retrain the model with the product details of whatever your electronic product catalog is, and now you get a retrained model You're reusing the reasoning of the model and the analytics and other things about the model on totally new data set. So let's say you take a base model for apparel, clothing, and everything, products, and now you retrain it on electronic products, and now you ask that model any question around the clothing product line, and it will not be able to respond back in a meaningful way. So you essentially retrain a foundation model when you like the performance, but you want it to learn a brand new product segment, industry segment, or the use cases. Fine-tuning a pre-trained model is simply extending the use of the model by adding a little more context or data to its training. The example I give here is that let's say you have a base model that is trained on automobiles to classify cars, motorcycles, and all that. But now you want it to also identify the brands or maybe other things, features or other things. So essentially what you are doing is that you are simply extending the use of the model by giving it or training it on additional data which is related to the data it was trained on earlier. And when to use it, when to fine tune a pre-trained model, essentially when your use case is an extension of the data set the model was trained on. So let's say you're opening a boutique clothing shop. So, and now you want to use an AI model or pre-trained model to do classification or do a customer support or whatever the use case may be. You take a base model that has been trained on clothing, apparel, fashion, things like that, and now you add or fine tune the model using your product line. You may have a different kind of clothing style, or you may be targeting it to a different customer segment. So you fine tune it, and then you have a model that is ready with the original knowledge plus the new knowledge it gained through your own products. So there are three other techniques that are specifically used for improving large language models: prompt tuning, prompt training, and PEFT. So prompt tuning can be done by the end user like you, me, or anybody else who has a chat interface to the LLM. And the other term you must have heard is prompt engineering, which is same as prompt tuning or similar to prompt tuning. Prompt training and PEFT, these two activities can be done by developers. The end user would not be able to do this. These are automated methods of doing the same thing like prompt engineering and prompt tuning, but programmatically. So it helps to scale, and also the use case is a little different where you want to, for specifically for PEFT, where you want to have a modularized way of training a pre-trained model and improve its quality of output and reduce hallucinations. Hallucinations, you must have seen the term or read about it, or I would refer you to my other videos in this series. I think specifically in ChatGPT video, I talk about hallucinations. So in my earlier slides, I talked about two terms: zero-shot performance or zero-shot response, and catastrophic forgetting. Although I explained them a little bit, just to re-emphasize and also explain it again, a zero-shot response or zero-shot performance is when a model responds to something it has never seen before. So what that means is that let's say you had trained the model with a set data set, and now you are asking it to classify or do something totally different that was not in the training data. And the example I give here is that let's say when you trained your model, on automobiles, you only had cars, motorcycles, or bikes, the bicycles, or trucks, but not an SUV. But now after that, show a picture or ingest picture of an SUV, and you asked the model to classify the automobile, and how accurate it would be. Like, if let's say you ingest 20 pictures, will it be able to classify 10 of them, 3 of them, or 18 of them? That is what the zero shot response would be. So catastrophic forgetting, as I said earlier, when the model forgets the data it was earlier trained on. Now we took an earlier example, but to re-emphasize, so let's say you had a model that was trained on dogs and cats, and now you retrain that model on cows and horses, and after that you try to ask it to classify dogs and cats again, and it makes a lot more errors. The performance goes down, and rather than what it was earlier. So what that means is that the model has forgotten what it was trained on, and now it remembers a new training set. So these two important terms should be kept in mind when you are thinking about when to use base model, when to retrain it, and how to retrain it, when to fine tune it, and then after that fine tuning or retraining, do you still want to do the prompt tuning or prompt training and PEFT and other things? And then you will be able to figure out the right AI pipeline. So I hope you learned what was base and foundation model, retraining or retrain and fine-tune models, when to use them and what approach to take, and you also understood the risks around zero-shot performance and catastrophic forgetting. If you like the video, follow the channel, share it forward. Feel free to connect with me. My email is on my website. Thank you.